Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of the show Hood Scholars. And I'm here with one of my colleagues, very casually dressed. He didn't get the memo for business casual, but the show must goes on. Demetrius Alexander, how you doing today?
Doing well.
Let's do it like sports shows do. There you go. We start off with a fist bump before we start to get things going. We are a little understaffed today. We don't have the whole crew in, but nonetheless, we want to make sure that we give you content, give you today's business news, give you today's business update from a aspect that's uniquely our own. So without further ado, let's get right into the proceedings of the day. No need to prolong or belabor anymore. We know that in this climate, which seems to come around once every other year, me and my wife are just talking about it. We have another big epidemic, the coronavirus. Right. You know, not the corona disease, from alcoholism, but the actual coronavirus. Right. So normally people don't look at things like this and translate them into business and dollars in the economy, but in actuality it directly affects everything that has to do with business, dollars, and economy. So first of all, what do you think about this epidemic, and what are you doing or planning or strategizing from a financial standpoint to expect now that the epidemic is here? And I think we already got one case that reportedly made it to America.
A couple of them.
Yeah, and I think the CDC has said that it's inevitable. Give it time, and the virus is going to be here. So what's your thoughts about it?
Well, like you said, every year it seems like it's something. Ebola, the bird flu, the H1N1, the swine flu.
We forgot about it. We were talking H1N1.
It's like a list of them. I saw somebody posted it online. It's like 20 different things every year we survive. So, I mean, it's just like mom and dad used to say, just wash your hands, man,
Exactly.
And you should be fine. But financially speaking, I think companies that deal in healthcare or cleaning, things like that, those might be things that you might want to invest in, because it's such a panic and a scare now. I was listening to something the other day. They said that all of the the masks that people wear, they're selling out. Like, companies and stores can't keep them in because everybody thinks if you wear the mask, it'll prevent you from getting it.
Right.
It won't, but people that do have it, if you wear the mask, it prevents you from spreading it. So, but financially speaking, I would say invest in any of the companies that have to do with, cleaning or cleaning chemicals or things like that, and health, because, everybody's scared now, and that'll help those companies.
So I don't want to dismiss that all of these epidemics that have come up over the past couple of years are legit. I totally believe that they're legit, and it's an actual thing going on that's causing deaths and things of that nature and causing people to get ill. But how much is the economy capitalizing off of people's fear versus this actually being a thing that should be as alarming as they always seem to be? Like, say we had the West Nile virus, which was alarming, never really did anything then. I think the most recent epidemic a couple of years ago was Ebola. You got people spraying the ground with fire and hazard suits. Never really saw anything from it, but as you can track historically, there's usually some kind of financial spike that comes along with all of these scares. So are they playing off of our emotions, or is it a legit scare that we should be precaution for, or is it a little bit of both?
I would say probably a little bit of both, because whenever there's a panic or an uproar, somebody's going to make a profit off of it. Whenever there's a war, there's companies that profit off of it. Wherever there's whenever there's an epidemic, people profit off of it. So, I mean, it's the American way. You don't want to see people get sick, things like that. But if you're an investor, you can make money off of it.
So should we be investing in the stock market? So what should we be doing right now? And I preface it by saying this. I saw something from Derek Grace. If you don't follow him, the Tattoo Mentor, make sure you guys follow him on all of his social media sites. I'm pretty sure you can look them all up by Derek Grace. But he made a good point, and it kind of lends itself to strategizing when investing financially in general. He said, it's a matter of time before somebody has a coronavirus on a major airline. When that happens, their stocks are going to plummet.
Right.
That's the time to go in and buy, because inevitably they'll start to recover and reestablish themselves.
Correct.
So you want to wait for the quote unquote disaster to hit.
Right.
Buy in and then reap the benefits once the economy and the market start to recover.
Right.
Do you think that's a strategy that we should be looking into, or is that feasible, logical? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's ironic that you said that, because I think it was either Friday or Thursday, where they said, like you just alluded to, that I believe it was a lady, I forget what airline, but she encountered a lot of different people, and she has been diagnosed with the H1N1. I mean, not H1N1, coronavirus. And then there's, I think it's other cases that they've said. So in the stock market, it did plunge on Thursday, I believe. So it may be some truth to what he's saying, man.
Right. So this is the thing with the stock market, when we see climates and things like this. As much as it's analytically based, as much as you need to be looking at resistance and support when you're looking at the stocks, looking at your candlesticks, looking at all your other indicators, your crossovers, all the different technical stuff that's out there.
Right.
Personally, I firmly believe that the stock market is emotionally driven more so than statistically driven. Obviously, you need to be well learned and well versed in anything you do. Obviously, when you're dealing with your money or anything like that.
Right.
But studies have even shown that they've had apes pick stocks in comparison to financial experts, and they pretty much pick successful stocks at the same rate.
Right.
Because a lot of times we have people investing in stocks, they're not investing with the complete use of the information that's available to them. Even if they might, have a good understanding of the information, they're moving off of fear, trends, and momentum. Right. So, now is a good time, even though it might look scary for you, because I know over the last couple of days, a lot of my stocks have plummeted. But you have to understand the times and the conditions that this is the time. If you have any stable or stocks that were looking good previously, hold them. Right. And you might need to start looking into some things that might be plummeting within range of whatever your financial capability is, so you can start making more sound decisions. But don't be alarmed to see things drop. Whenever there's news that comes out that gets national attention, it's going to either spike the economy, or it's going to spike the market, or it's going to drive the market down. So you have to dictate based off of that. And whenever we have an epidemic like this, sad to say, you don't want to look at it that way, because again, I do believe that these epidemics are legit as far as people actually contracting them. But this is the time to start looking at, okay, what move am I going to make financially? Because I can make a financial gain off of this if I move accordingly, or in a couple of stocks that have been presented to me, kind of missed out on the window of opportunity. So what's your thoughts on that? People moving based off of feelings, and how do you strategize that? I guess is more really what to look at. So obviously you want to understand, you want to talk to your financial experts. If you are a financial expert, obviously you strategize about what do you do as far as knowing that the general public is usually moving off of feelings and not logic when it comes to investing.
Right. I mean, and I think that's kind of how you have to look at it, because to your point, if right now they said that it was going to be a war, or that in the Middle East it was going to be a problem with the oil supply, that would cause the prices of oil to go up, which would affect the stock market. Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a concrete fact, but like you said, it could be fears, it could be suspicions, it could be rumors, and it could cause the prices to go up or down. So if you're an investor, you're waiting for them to drop, buy them low, and then when they go back up, sell and you'll make a profit. It's easier said than done, though.
Yeah, easier said than done. But I mean, I don't want to say, because anytime you're dealing with something as important, if you will, as your finances, your money, it's not easy. But some of these things are more predictable than one would think. Obviously, like I said, we have a wave of whenever war hits, expect defense to go up and spike. Any kind of defensive stock, any kind of defensive industry. Same thing whenever any kind of health ailments come around, expect anything in the field of diagnostics, pharmacy, research, expect all those things to go up. It kind of goes hand in hand when you understand how tendencies work, along with understanding how the market works. So any final thoughts on this coronavirus craze? Have you getting all your precautions? My doctor made me get all my flu shots and everything. I'm like, I guess, whatever. I'm like, if you make me get it, okay. If not, All right.
Well, knock on wood, I can't remember me ever having the flu, and I've never gotten a flu shot.
Okay.
So, but I do try to wash my hands, very good, and use hand sanitizer and things like that, and that's really all I can do, So,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, moving on, let's transition a little bit. Since we're talking about market, we're talking about economy, we're talking about wealth. We're talking about wealth from our point of view, making it reachable to the people and the demographic and the audience that we want to be able to connect with. And a lot of times, a lot of things we don't talk about from a setting like this, which would be at the table, is generating wealth and how to do it. A lot of experts say that you're supposed to have at least 7 streams of income to become a millionaire. So being that you're a businessman, you got your degrees and all that fun stuff, we'll put all your accolades and the graphics as far as what you do. What's your thoughts on wealth, creating wealth, and how to build wealth in your household?
Well, I think the first thing about wealth is you want to try to eliminate as much debt as possible.
Right.
And I mean, unless you're going to leverage the debt to make money.
Okay. But I was going to say, because you got opposing thoughts. Some people think debt is good. Some people say no debt at all.
Right.
David Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki. Those are two figures on the opposing side. But go ahead.
Yeah. So you want to do your best to either eliminate as much debt as you can, so you'll have all your money, or to use your debt, leverage your debt, as Robert Kiyosaki said.
Exactly.
You want to, if you have debt, you want to leverage your debt to make money. And then Dave Ramsey's school of thought is, having no debt and, having your money and investing, 15% in, mutual funds over time.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's more than one way to skin a cat, but me personally, I agree with the 7 streams of income. And I believe you have to work really hard, for a period of time so you get where you need to be. And then when you get those streams of income coming in, then the money can start working for you.
All right. See, I'm always, when it comes to anything for that matter, but especially finances, I'm always somewhere in the middle. Because, I mean, I do take the David Ramsey approach, and my philosophy is that if you obtain the debt, pay it off.
Right.
Don't try to come with trickery, scams, or try to get somebody to get you out of it, or try and find some legal loophole, because it usually doesn't work in your favor.
Right.
If you created the debt, do what you need to do to get rid of that debt, or do what you need to do to negotiate that debt into a more favorable term so you can handle it. Because obviously debt, delinquencies directly affects your credit, debt to income ratio affects your credit, things like that. And it's a lot easier just to work on getting that fixed versus trying to beat the system, if you will. Because that's what a lot of people are honestly trying to do. They're trying to find a way to not pay what they owe, for lack of a better term. So do what you need to do. If you accumulated that debt, even if in the cases where I've gotten a letter from a collection agency or something like that, maybe I forgot to pay a bill. Medical bills are good for that. It's like you forget, you get so many, you forget. It's like, oh, we got a bill here. It's not like, oh, well, I didn't sign the agreement with you. I signed it with them, so I'm not paying. I created the debt, get rid of it, so you don't have to have this burden in the long run. But on the other end, the Robert Kiyosaki, we'll call it philosophy, dealing with capitalism, it is necessary to understand debt and the difference between good debt and bad debt. Understanding that in order to be able to create multiple streams and start to generate income from different avenues, you have to have debt in some way, shape, or fashion. And debt is not actually a bad thing in and of itself. You just have to understand what it is and how to use it. So you have the difference between what he likes to call good debt and bad debt. Good debt being debt that is being paid for by something else. So, for instance, if you get a loan to start a business or whatever, you have rental income that's paying the debt off of that loan. So that's good debt. You have something else outside of you paying for it, and then obviously bad debt would be debt that you're paying for yourself. Probably my most favorite to be student loans. So we're paying that out of pocket, and you look at the interest rate and the fact that even if you bracket it, or even if you tier it based on the degree you choose and the career path you choose accordingly, your debt from student loans usually matches the amount of money that you assume you're going to make taking this career industry. So even if you're doing something modest like being a manager of a small box retail store, which may generate $50,000 or so, just throwing a number out there, or you're becoming a pharmacist that may make $100,000, $200,000, your debt is usually going to match and say, hey, before you start living a lavish life and start living to your dreams, you're going to have to pay us back a little bit first. So you want to be mindful of the type of debt you have in place and try to find a way to supplement it and have something that's paying for that for you. So that speaks to the, people have the mindset of, some people feel live as far as possible below your means and try to save and let your money accrue interest and things like that in order to generate some type of wealth, which is one way of thinking. And then you have some people that say, hey, you can have what you want, but find a way for something else to pay for it for you. And I do think it's a mixture of both, where when you're starting from ground zero and trying to build wealth, especially if this is a new conversation in your arena, in your household, in your community, you probably started with limited assets and resources to work with. So you might want to reduce your cost of living, your way of living, in order to have resources available when it's time to make a lucrative move. You have something substantial to do it with, or you have something available to do it with, some type of collateral, some type of resources, finances put away where when the opportunity presents itself, you can do so. But that's at the starting point. Until you start to generate regular revenue, you start to see cash flow from different investments or different financial strategies that you put in place in order to see an increase on what you currently have. Then you should start looking to transition into, now I want to make this move, or I want to buy, even if it's a personal or a luxury item, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a boat, I want to buy a car, I like this car, whatever it is. You have the right, they put them out there for you to like it. You have the right to like it. It's just a matter of being wise in the decisions that you make. Do I have something in place that will be able to either pay for this car completely, or at least supplement the cost, where I pull in half of the car note out of my earned income in order to pay for it. The other half is coming from investments or different business opportunities I have, or am I planning on putting something in place in order to supplement? I think that's where a lot of people miss it. Is we look at, say for instance, I work a traditional 9 to 5, and I might make a salary that allows me to afford different things, but we don't look at the long-term ramifications. I don't think we really understand how easy it is to exceed your threshold as far as, this is what I bring in, this is what I'm kicking out. So the easiest way to counteract that is always have a plan in place to say, I like this car, I have a right to like this car, there's nothing wrong with it, there's no law, there's no morality code that say I can't like having nice things or going nice places, but what are you going to do in order to make sure that you're not taking a financial hit in order to acquire these things, if you will? And I totally agree, what you're saying. It's one goes, which I love the Dave Ramsey school of thought, and I like the Robert Kiyosaki, and it's like Dave Ramsey, the school of thought, having zero debt. That's easier said than done, depending on what you have. But then the Robert Kiyosaki, you technically always have some type of debt.
And then the Robert Kiyosaki school of thought is, like you said, to leverage the debt, which I like that as well. And I think that's more practical. That if you leverage your debt and manage it, and you can get nice things, but have the other income, one of your other streams, paying for it, and then not your main source of income, because one day something, like they say, it's going to rain, in so many words. So, and you may lose a job, you may get laid off, you may get sick, you may get injured, and if you just depend on one stream of income, then something's probably going to happen. But if you got 6 other ones, when that one stops, you're not worried.
I think a lot of times when we're looking at stuff like this, even if I parallel it to looking at, if you are a person that decides to work a traditional 9 to 5 and get earned income versus portfolio income or any other types of income that you may make, there's a graduation process to everything. So if you just decide to go into the workforce, when you're 15, there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. This is an entry level into work, seeing how it feels, seeing how traditional 9 to 5 goes. But at some point, you need to graduate up to something higher, and then something higher, and then hopefully you hit, your pinnacle of what you feel is success for you, and you're able to garner the things that you want in your personal life. Because success is arbitrary. I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder. And I think it's the same thing when you're talking about generating wealth and starting to build wealth within your household, your family, your community. there's an entry point, because a lot of times within most households, most people don't talk about finances.
Right.
We obviously don't talk about it in schools or things like that. That's something that's not taught. Whether you be able to think that that's intentional or whether it's just something we neglect, either way, it's something that's not taught. So you have to first start the conversation, start to train your mind into understanding finances and how to use them and how to leverage them. And then you have to put yourself in position to discipline yourself. And I think that's where the David Ramsey approach comes in, where start learning how to reduce your level of spending. A typical person likes to spend at or above their income as far as what they're receiving in. Where best practice is to live like you're making half of that, if not less. You know, some people say they would tell you to at least put 20% of your earnings away for savings, and then still invest and divert your income into other means that generate income for you, and then live off of the rest. That easier said than done for most people, because our minds are, I'm making this money to live a lifestyle that I want to live, not realizing that, you know, we have with inflation, with markets and economies going up and down, with the fact that no job is guaranteed. I don't care how good you are at your job or how stable you think your market is. I've seen in several instances where it literally has nothing to do with the person that's been let go as far as why they don't have that job anymore, just market change and market shift. So understanding how to counteract that in the beginning, then once you start to get your discipline down and once you start to get your bearings on how to handle finances, then you can start to transition into what I would say is more advanced ways of accruing wealth and starting to obtain wealth. Well, now I can say, I'll take a risk on this business plan, I'll take a risk on this because I have other means of getting money to supplement that. One, to pay for it, and two, if something goes wrong, I'm not out of sorts, if you will, because that was the only income that I had coming in. And then from the point of leverage, I don't think people really understand how valuable it is to have other options available. Dr. Boyce Watkins, he probably has one of the top 5 quotes that I use, you know, on a daily basis for me. He preaches having FU money. And he uses literal term, a little more graphic, obviously, but basically meaning that you need to have enough money put away or enough resources and assets set aside that if I'm in an agreement business-wise or if I'm working a 9-to-5, whatever the case may be, I can walk away from it if the terms are not favorable to my liking. So I can say, F you, I'm going to go run a different direction, you know. So, and a lot of times, you know, it may put you. Obviously, if I have 3 means of income coming in and I reduce one, I'm not, you know, I'm not bringing as much income as I was with all 3. But I still have enough coming in that I can make the move that's in the best interest of me until I can get something that's more favorable. Instead of a lot of times what we do, we get into a 9-to-5, or even some of us entrepreneurs, we'll start a business and that's our only means of income, which causes us to be hamstrung to the terms and conditions of said endeavor that we're taking on. So you got to have that flexibility, and I've learned that personally in my own work in entrepreneurship experience, where I put myself in a position to say, look, these are the terms that I want, not asking for a request, and this is what I want. If you can't provide that, I'll stay over here or I'll do this instead. And you'd be surprised with having that leverage and knowing that